I'm excited about getting on spontaneously today. So I just wonder if there's anybody out there hanging out while all your men are watching some football. Actually, I was watching football too. But I decided to be more productive. And so, there you are. Great. You know, where it's not really early morning, it's not really tomorrow, but it's time to get ready for tomorrow. And so all throughout church today, we had the most amazing church service, and it was really about how good God is all the time, how good he is. And I kept thinking throughout the whole church service that I wanted to make a message for you on remembering what God has done. And so this is a Sunday message. So hi from Virginia. I'm so glad you guys are getting on, and I hope this is a blessing to you. So one of the things that I think about often is how important it is to God that we remember the good things that he's done for us. And so I came home to kind of type this up and write this out, and I Googled and found an article that I want to share with you today. And it's on remembering, and it is an article by a woman called Patricia Mitchell. And so here's what she has to say about remembering. Remember that God's help yesterday. Remembering God's help yesterday, it helps us to trust him today and tomorrow. Isn't that true? Remembering what he did for us yesterday. Memories weave our past with our present, and they connect our yesterdays with today and tomorrow. And when we're celebrating any kind of occasion, we remember the people who over the years have been there for us and supporting and encouraging us and making this day possible. And when we're facing challenges, we're prompted to reach out to those who've helped us in the past and those that we can really rely on to be there for us today. You know, today it's Mary Kay Ash, the company's Mary Kay Incorporated's 52nd anniversary. And so I'm thinking, you know, what if Mary Kay all those years ago hadn't made the commitments and the sacrifices that she made? You know, I have to remember what it was like for her and when she made those sacrifices that gave me an opportunity. I was only 3 years old when she started the company, and most of you weren't even born until years later. But the reality is I have to remember that. And so the article continues, a visual reminder of God's faithfulness on the battlefield, where years ago they had suffered defeat. Israel pled with God for help, and he granted them a miraculous victory. And their priest and leader, Samuel, you all know who Samuel is, right? He set up a monument to remind them of God's strong hand in their triumph. And Samuel named the pillar Ebenezer, saying, this the Lord has helped us. And this is in 1 Samuel 7:12. And this stone pillar called God's people, it reminded them to recall and to remember the time when God turned events from bad to blessed. Do any of you need your events to turn from bad to blessed? Anybody out there today thinking, I just got to have a better week. I got to have a better month. I got to turn this, and I got to turn it now. Anybody? Because the reality is we can, but we must start to remember. Each time back in that day, an Israelite saw the Ebenezer stone, they remembered God's help in the past, and God's help relied on today, and God's help assured for tomorrow. The Ebenezer was a picture of the Lord's readiness to hear their cries and save them, and it served to remind them where to turn for their strength and power and to whom to thank for their deliverance. So, a written reminder of God's faithfulness, just as the Ebenezer stone called God's people to remember. The psalmist also built a similar monument with words, and they reached back into history of God's people, and they named marvelous things that God had done, the many things that God had delivered them from their enemies, and all the times he forgave their disobedience. Aren't you so grateful that he forgave your disobedience? I know I'm grateful that he has forgiven and will forgive mine. The reminders are specific. Didn't God lead you out of bondage in Egypt? Didn't he feed you in the desert and keep doing so, even though you grumbled and you complained? And didn't he forgive your repeated idolatry and rampant rebelliousness? And didn't God give your army of victory after victory over your enemies? And if he did so much for you in past times, can't you depend on him to do just as much, if not more, for you today? So why are you worrying about tomorrow? Won't he still be there for you, hearing your pleas for help, acting on your behalf? Psalm 78:2-3 says, I will utter hidden things from old, the psalmist said, things we have heard and known, and things our ancestors have told us to help you remember, to give you trust and confidence, to teach you to lean on him, to be your Ebenezer as long as you are on this side of heaven. So, what's your personal Ebenezer? Unlike commemorative pillar erected by Samuel, your Ebenezer, your stone of help, requires neither hammer nor chisel. You don't need to sit down and pen eloquent songs or psalms like were done in the past for us. To create your personal Ebenezer, all you need to do is mentally page through your spiritual memory album and recall the many victories God has given you. So get ready, because I'm going to invite you to start remembering everything he has already done, because this is going to inspire you to believe into what he's getting ready to do. Are you ready? You might begin by remembering the gifts of life. Your parents, your home, your education, your family. Your memories could include the blessings of friends, of a community, of livelihood, of our nation. But especially remember the certain events in your own personal life, times when God turned out what appeared to be a disaster into an unexpected opportunity. Or when he took you through hardship and you could gain the gifts of maturity and wisdom through that hardship. Your personal Ebenezer turns you away from fear, doubt, and disbelief today because you realize once again how many times in the past God has forgiven, protected, and healed you. In the form of a cross, your Ebenezer stands as a constant reminder that God has given us the victory of all victories through Christ. He's made us victorious over the eternal effects of sin, winning us a promised eternal life. His cross, his stone of help for you assures that the sins of the past have been forgiven completely. So the sins of today and tomorrow will be forgiven the same. So begin by setting up your personal Ebenezer stone, and in your mind, write the record of your spiritual history by naming specific people, recalling certain events of your life. You're going to see God's hand at work and recognize his compassion and love that he's brought you through today. So can you remember when loving adults sheltered you or nurtured, protected you, taught you while you were growing up? Who were they? Can you remember when devastating circumstances maybe shattered your world and you learned firsthand of people's generosity and compassion and that they genuinely cared? What happened? Can you remember when a hard-earned lesson left you maybe older but wiser, with experience that you need now to empathize and guide others? Who have you been able to help as a result of that difficult experience? Can you know of a serious health problem that God brought you through and it heightened your appreciation for life? How has your outlook changed for the better? Maybe when the loss of a loved one made you realize how important friends and family are to you. What have you said and done to show them how much they mean? Maybe when your hopes were dashed and you were disappointed, but a new and better opportunity presented itself. Which door closed and which door opened, and how was God responsible for that? Can you think of a time when times were tough, but you survived them? How has this given you perspective on the ups and downs of life? Can you think of a time when you were in danger, but you found a way out? Where was God in that? How about when you found yourself on the wrong spiritual path, but someone guided you back the way that God would have you go? What did you learn? What about when you repented and God brought you his peace and his mind and heart? How did that draw you closer? See, your Ebenezer, your historical record, is your present day monument to God, to all that God has done for you in your past. And your memories reveal his presence, even if you didn't take the time to build a monument to that moment at that time. Maybe it looked like a coincidence or a happy accident. So let these things and these life journeys that you have experienced be a reminder to you today that just as God has been with you in the past, he will remain with you and he will help you and he will strengthen you and he will bless you in the future. So today I'm going to invite you to give thanks. No matter what's going on in your life, I'm going to invite you to be grateful, to be appreciative, because the reality is this, and something that I'm learning as I'm watching more and more from Creflo Dollar, the moment we get stuck on the circumstance in front of us is the moment we're stuck, because that's not even what's going on. The reality of what's going on is happening in the supernatural world that we can't even see. So if we look at the circumstance and we think that this is the end of the story, we lose the opportunity to really grow in our faith. So we have to stand on the promise. For those of you who have children, here's the word that I'm continue to stand on and I'm excited about. The seed of the righteous will be delivered. The seed of the righteous will be delivered. It's a promise. And so if you are in Christ and Christ is in you, you are righteous because of that. And so therefore, The seed of the righteous will be delivered. So what you see today is not what you will always see if it's not what you want to be seeing. So here I have a couple words for you from more of our world. Protect your progress. Protect your potential. And protect your provision. Your character, your integrity, your honesty, important relationships. You'll know how serious you are about achieving your goals when you have a visual of what you want in front of you to happen. When you have a goal poster reminding you about your spoken goals. 2, when your behavior matches the wisdom of those people who have gone before you. Stop acting like you don't know what to do. Do what you've been told to do. And number 3, when your habits imitate and match and reflect other highly successful people who have been on your journey. To expect more, but to continue doing the same or less, to compromise or to shortcut the vision, the behavior or the habits, it's not going to work. If the pursuit of pleasure trumps the priority of both protecting your progress and growing your future, then set your expectations to match the natural consequences of that choice. Because when you make choices, there are outcomes that are natural to that choice. The more quickly you move forward from your most recent mistake or your most recent loss, the closer you are to your next success. Are you ready to bounce back? Are you ready for a comeback? Are you ready to use the disappointments in the past to be your exciting story of encouragement to other people? The longer we live in regret, denial, and guilt, the more likely we'll stay in that state of mind. Guilt is the product of living, speaking, working, or being under less than what you believe in or have been taught or have an inner knowing for yourself or what God has called you to. Let me ask you a question. Ready? When were you at your best? When were you at your best, your most clear, most hopeful, most disciplined, accountable, most goal-oriented? When were you at your happiest? When were you at your best? Consider that. And then I'm going to invite you to recreate the schedule, the people, the season, and live that out from your new growth, your current age, and your present level of maturity and increase. Take it off your to-do list or I'm going to list or I'm meant to regret and put it on your daily calendar as an appointment with yourself this week if you want to get it done. There are seasons of life when you know what to stop and what to add. If you're always rebelling against the season that it's the season of opportunity that you're in, then you'll ultimately live a life of regret and rebellion. So what do you need to stop doing? And what do you need to start doing? And will you honor that immediately today? Rebellious and stubborn may define a season of life, giving you a false sense of control, but regret will have a more permanent position in your life if you ignore the wisdom and direction that you could literally have changed the trajectory of your success. Delay is costly. So how is this week going to be different? Okay. For me personally, when I make decisions, I ask myself this question: how will this decision affect me in 10 days? How will this decision affect me in 10 weeks? How will this decision affect me in 10 months, in 10 years? See, because in 10 days, I won't see the big impact of a decision. But 10 years ago, if I hadn't pursued my Mary Kay career the way that I did, my late husband would have passed from ALS anyway. And 10 years would have come anyway. And so the impact of our decisions may not show up in 10 days, and they may not show up in 10 months, but they will show up in 10 years. And so I want to encourage you today to think not only of the sacrifices you're making these next 10 days, but how they'll affect you 10 weeks, 10 months, and 10 years from now. Don't step into old ways as you step into a new week. When you fail, you know how the God's word talks about old wineskins and new wine and how they'll break. So we're walking into a new week with a new mindset. Don't walk into a new week with an old mindset. When you fail to remember what God has done, you lose the motivation to move on. And when you fail to remember, you may return to a season of life that was less beneficial. You can taste the fruit of your future when you remember the food of your past. Your enemies are not your haters, and they're not those people who disagree with you. Your enemies are your thoughts and your distractions and your own undecidedness or your fast to be discouraged tendencies. Get over your last mistake. Get over current guilt. Don't feel sorry for yourself. If you are living and breathing and walking, if you have a place to live, if you have transportation, if you have $5 in your purse, you have more wealth than the majority of the people in the world. And so today we're going to park on gratitude. We may not have everything that we want, but we have an opportunity to start a fresh week. Hebrews 12:11 says, no discipline is enjoyable at the time while it's happening. It's painful, but afterwards, there will be a harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. So today, I hope you take the rest of your afternoon and that you really do design your life, that you pull out your 90-day planner, you pull out your weekly plan sheet, you pull out those little yellow sticky pads and get one set up for tomorrow, and that you do the hard thing and that you force yourself by remembering how God has been there for you in the past, what you've learned and how far you've come, and trust that what He has for you in the future is going to be so much better. So take action today on what you know, so that as you take action on that, there'll be something new for God to give to you in your future. I hope you have a beautiful week. I can't wait to read all these notes because you know what? The reality is I can't see without my glasses on. So I really should do these with my glasses on so that I can see. Take action. Thank you. Yes. Hi, Pam. Hi. I must force myself. See, I can see better with glasses on, but there's such a glare there. Here, maybe if I look over in this direction. Well, I'm glad you got on and I'm glad you needed it. So I love when you give me feedback about what you just heard me say. Take action, 10, 10, 10, living in gratitude. So grateful. Yes, thank you so much. You're so welcome, you guys. You're so welcome. Thank you for getting on spontaneously. Normally I'll throw a little shout out and say, okay, I'm going to get on Periscope in 2 hours. But today I just thought, I'm just going to get on and see who's out there. And I'm so glad that you were. Thanks so much for the love. Hey, you filled me up. You know what? You filled me up. All those hearts and all those comments back, you filled me up. So thank you so much. I love you. Have a great day. I can't wait to hear. Tag me someplace and let me know what's going on in your week this week and how because of your gratitude, because of your willingness to remember how far God has brought you and how often He has blessed you and how huge He's blessed you, what happened this week, because I know that gratitude and remembering and discipline opens up a world of success. So tag me someplace this week and let me hear from you, okay? Bye. Happy Sunday.